Here we are with a brand new installment in the Banned Toys series. From trading crazed school bands to educational sets that probably better stayed in school, let's take a look at some successful trends and their controversies. Be sure to subscribe for more 80s and 90s toy videos, follow me on my socials, and let's strap in for an all-new toy history. As a kid in the 80s, your main ride was probably a BMX bike, but when Krasko released Power Wheels in 1984, there was a new way to travel in style. The company made battery-powered vehicles for kids, but the origins came from an Italian company called Peg Perego, who had been around since 1949 and began using gel cell batteries in their kiddie vehicles. Power Wheels came in all sorts of models, from Jeeps to Ford Mustangs, quads, and even an 18-volt Porsche. However, the Porsche dating back to 91 had to be recalled when the driving contacts in the foot pedal switch could weld together, resulting in the car not being able to stop anymore. They quickly fixed this problem, but you better buckle up when you step into one of these, cause when you're cruising at a top speed of 5 miles per hour and you don't have any brakes, running into the sandbox or jungle gym is the only way to stop this ride. Now, I fondly remember these toys as something not a lot of kids had, but I would have definitely wanted to try out. Mini hammocks were another backyard toy that could function as a safety net for a hot-wired Power Wheels toy. But those got recalled as well due to the danger of strangulation. To accommodate the target group's smaller posture, they removed the spreader bar that usually holds these open, so they twist more often and kids would get caught when climbing in or out. And 10 of the manufacturers ended up recalling over 3 million of these death traps. Fast forward to 1994 and Krasko's Power Wheels had been selling well, so toy giant Mattel stepped in with an offer they couldn't refuse, adding a whole new fleet of electric cars to their roster as they placed it under their Fisher-Price subsidiary. And of course, they started creating cars focused to girls with Barbie licensed Power Wheels, and just imagine if they had made a Street Sharks one.
There's nothing the Street Sharks can't chew.
Now, remember those gel batteries? Well, maybe they weren't the best type to go with. In 1998, Mattel's Fisher-Price recalled almost 10 million of these cars because they needed to repair them to prevent the units from overheating. The toy car was considered a fire hazard, and the US Consumer Product Safety Commission had received over 150 reports of fire caused by the toys, even when the toy wasn't in use. Now, the recall also allowed you to bring in the vehicle to an authorized Power Wheels service center. They could detect potentially faulty battery connections. In the end, it's still a very cool toy every kid at a certain age would have wanted. After all, you could have a real driving car just like mom and dad, which was way better than those weird just like that smoke kits for kids. You could roleplay smoking, which was apparently a thing in the 50s, and during the 90s you could still get candy ones, even though the chocolate didn't really taste that good. Luckily, they started coming down hard on smoking being promoted to kids, so they banned them. I guess the first cigarette you'd end up smoking would be in the boys' room at school. Then again, we didn't have time for those, we needed time for all these following toys. Now, most toys you'd never bring to class, but the schoolyard is where trading card crazes and collectible trends spiked up. During Turtle Mania, you couldn't even wear any TMNT merchandise in some schools. Turtles got us in trouble because some parents believed it encouraged aggression, while others said they were just harmless fun. According to some teachers, it was just too distracting, so several California schools created a policy to ban them. Other parents and teacher groups protested the kids' First Amendment rights, and defenders claimed kids could concentrate better after all the TMNT goodies were kept outside of the classroom. Sure, you would use the noble art of self-taught karate on your classmates, but going as far as to ban words like cowabunga and t-shirts? Come on. There was even an anti-war activist offering teddy bears to kids that turned in their TMNT toys. At least you could still use the old comic book in a textbook trick.
Hey you, are you reading comics again? Get back to toy history.
Yes, sir.
And how many Joes were produced in 1988?
I wonder who narked on me. Comics were the perfect size and the perfect escape from any boring class. But the last thing you wanted was for a teacher to point the finger at you and see your precious collectible go into the black hole of confiscation and lost and found objects. Some would keep them a week, but some you'd never ever see again. Talking about pointing fingers, in 1982 an E.T. the extraterrestrial toy had to be recalled due to, well, obvious reasons. The toys sure delivered what it set out to do and provide a little light as the finger would glow when pressed correctly, but perhaps they should have looked at this thing twice over at Knickerbocker before giving the okay to the production line. With a skin tone finish, this absurdly large finger might have easily been mistaken for something else. Slip ET finger over your index finger. Tip of the finger should touch base of battery. To operate, press end of the finger against solid object and finger will glow. To ensure more enjoyment, do not leave light on for too long periods of time. Light is designed for intermittent use. It's one of the worst toys out there, and collectors are paying big amounts for this one still in the blister. After the recall, Knickerbocker went out of business in '82. And later, the E.T. franchise actually released a revision which had the finger on a glove. So you essentially had an E.T. hand to roleplay with. Time for recess. The schoolyard was the place to trade and show off, and with every new trend we got into trouble. Some call them POGs, other Tazos, Flippos, Slammers, Sky Caps, but in 1920s Hawaii, they were just called milk caps, with roots in a Japanese card game. They came from the cardboard milk caps. After those went away, the caps were still used as promotional items. In 1971, Haleakala used them to promote their new drink POG, and since then the name of the drink and the game had been linked. But wait, what were these POG rules again? After creating a stack of caps, you slam down onto it. The caps fly around and land face up or down. You get to keep the face-ups at the end of the game. The winner is the one with the most collected caps. In the 90s, POGs came back, and in a big way. They came in chips, Happy Meals, you even got one when opening a bank account, and pretty much any and every pop culture thing you could find on them. I remember they used to throw them into the crisps bags, and people would complain they'd eaten the POGs, so after a while they'd have to pop them in a plastic baggie inside the bag. At least this way, all of my Flippos didn't smell like Cheetos. There was even a World POG Federation and the Universal POG Federation who had to settle a lawsuit in court to see who could officially use POGs as a name. In the end, it was credited to the World POGs Association, causing the Universal POGs to change to Universal Slammers. During the peak, kids would fill recess with POG games, and because they could keep the POGs they won in games, it was considered just as bad as gambling. So they were banned from a lot of schools and school districts.
You traded my soul for POGs?
During the height of the hype, you'd bring them to school to show off and trade, but I guess the teachers ended up with the biggest collections while confiscating them. Then again, they spiked up just as soon as they left their wave of popularity. Game Boys and other portable gaming consoles were obviously banned from the classroom. And back in the day, playing Mario Land, you needed a lot more time than the 15 minutes of recess to complete the game without saves. After all, we weren't fully evolved into the speedrunners we are today. One Game Boy game really changed recess for at least a year or two: Pokémon Blue and Red. Yeah, you had to catch them all or trade with your friends, collecting all the legendary Pokémon alongside your encounters with Pikachu, Snorlax, and hoping to evolve your starter to its final form. It was the latest Japanese craze, and it's still going today, becoming the one thing every kid gets obsessed by. Now, we didn't have internet back then, but we did have the schoolyard, and we tried out everything or learned from someone who had scored a magazine where to get Mew or Mewtwo. The thing with something that's so popular is that there's bound to be some issues with kids trading Pokemon, so we had to say goodbye to bringing our Game Boys to school altogether. But Pokemon wasn't only on Game Boy, it was also in a trading card game like many hypes had done before them. Similar to trading Pogs, trading cards had been around for the longest time. Any big cartoon, sport, or movie had trading cards, and let's not forget the grossingly awesome Garbage Pail Kids cards. Magic the Gathering offspring even ended up getting a ban spell casted by parent groups as they were too D&D alike, and the whole 80s satanic witch hunt began all over, with even a federal lawsuit against Wizard who made the cards. But in the mid-90s, Wizard also made Pokémon the trading card game, with shiny cards being the rare ones everyone was looking to trade for one of their favorite Pokémon out of the original 150. In 1996, the schoolyard is where most of the trading happened, so evidently kids got into arguments, and not just trading, but lots of milk money was flowing even in the late 90s to get a shiny Charizard card. Younger kids made bad deals and lost valuable cards, and some cards even got stolen. But Pokemon weren't the only pocket monsters or pets that got banned. Who didn't want a pet dog or cat or a turtle back in the day? But with great pets come great responsibility. That's something most parents would learn evidently when purchasing this digital pet. Tamagotchi, a real digital pet you could take care of day and night. So yeah, what were you gonna do when you were at school? Obviously, you'd bring it along with you and its classic sounds. After all, you needed to play with your pet and feed it in order for it to feel loved. As soon as the trend spiked up, you couldn't bring them to school and they either died or mom ended up taking care of your digital pet all day long. Ain't that right, Furby? We've already discussed the Gilbert Atomic Energy Lab in a previous video, but that wasn't the only thing the company put out from the 1950s, presenting the Gilbert glassblowing set, which featured all the items needed to create your own glass creations. This was something that during the era was done at schools, but with teacher supervision. The toy set allowed kids to warm up the glass themselves, which is at around 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, to reach the softening point before you could actually blow it. So this was kind of a disaster waiting to happen, and the toy sets were taken off shelves for being too dangerous. Then they had a lead casting set releasing toxic fumes as you poured the metal into the cast to create your own soldiers, airplanes, or tanks. Kind of like creepy crawlers, but released way before in the 1930s. Or you could even make your own explosives with their chemistry set, which included potassium permanganate, or something like that, ammonium nitrate, and instructions to make sure you had a blast. Now, it won't come to you as a surprise that during the following decades they'd have a barrage of lawsuits about the safety concerns. Now, which toys did your teachers confiscate? Which toy do you remember getting banned, and what the heck did you call a POG back in the 90s? Leave it down in the comments below. Special thanks go out to NARC, Not Another Retro Channel, for helping out with this episode. Please leave a like, and if you'd like to see more toy history videos, then I suggest subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Big shout out to all the members on the Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can always go and check it out and join us for some behind the scene looks and for the exclusive Patreon Discord. You can always follow me on all my socials like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!